The Curly Howard mystery, finally solved and isn't good. He was the man who could make the world laugh with a single look. Curly Howard, the heart and soul of the Three Stooges, wasn't just funny, he was pure lightning in human form. Every spin, every wild face, every burst of childlike laughter made him a legend of American comedy. To millions, he was the funniest man alive, a symbol of joy in a world desperate for escape. But behind the endless laughter, behind those rolling eyes and silly voices, hid a truth no one dared to face. Curly wasn't just acting out chaos, he was living it. His rise was spectacular, but his fall was steep, silent, and far darker than anyone could imagine. For years, the truth was buried beneath the applause and studio lights. Now, after decades of secrets and silence, the mystery behind Curly Howard's final days has finally been uncovered. And it isn't good. Born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1903, Jerome Lester Horwitz was the youngest of 5 brothers in a hard-working Jewish family. While his older brothers found their way into show business, little Jerome was often the quiet one, shy and overshadowed by Mo, the strong-willed leader of the family. Yet behind that shy smile burned an instinct for laughter that couldn't be taught. From the moment he could walk, he made people laugh without even trying. He didn't study comedy. He was comedy. As a young man, he tried everything from odd jobs to small theater roles, searching for his place in the world. That place arrived in 1932 when his brother Mo asked him to join a vaudeville act called the Three Stooges. At first, he had a full head of curly auburn hair and a neat mustache, but Mo and the showman Ted Healy suggested he shave his head for a more striking look. Jerome hesitated, but finally agreed. The moment the razor touched his scalp, Curly Howard was born. The bald head became his trademark, and with it, a new kind of comedy exploded onto the screen. His humor was wild, unpredictable, and pure, the kind that seemed to come from a child's heart. He stumbled, spun, barked, and grunted his way into history. His face stretched into impossible shapes. His timing was instinctive, perfect. He didn't just act funny, he became funny. Audiences couldn't get enough. Curly wasn't the brains of the group or the boss, he was the heartbeat, the spark, the spirit that made the Three Stooges more than a comedy act. He made slapstick something beautiful, something alive. Behind every ridiculous fall and silly noise was a kind of innocence that reminded people what joy could feel like. For millions, he wasn't just Curly Howard, he was laughter itself. By the mid-1930s, Curly Howard had become a phenomenon. From 1934 to 1946, he appeared in nearly 100 short films with the Three Stooges, a run of success that turned the group into legends of American comedy. Their films Punch Drunks in 1934, Disorder in the Court in 1936, and A Plumbing We Will Go in 1940 became instant classics. Each new release drew laughter from every corner of the country, as audiences fell in love with Curly's wild antics and boundless energy. His comedy was pure magic. He didn't rely on words or clever dialogue. His body did the talking. A raised eyebrow, a sudden spin, a ridiculous yelp, everything he did felt alive, unpredictable, and full of wonder. He was chaos and innocence combined, a man who could turn clumsiness into art. Children adored him, adults laughed until they cried, and even critics admitted that no one else had his timing, his instinct, or his heart. On screen, he was joy itself, untamed and unstoppable. But away from the camera, the man behind the laughter was fading. Curly's endless energy on screen came from a deeper loneliness he couldn't escape. Fame surrounded him, but intimacy eluded him. He gave everything to make the world laugh. Yet when the lights went out, he often sat alone in silence, unsure of who he really was without the noise of applause. Friends recalled that he could light up a room one moment and withdraw completely the next, as if the laughter drained something vital from him. His colleagues adored him, but few truly knew him. Curly's heart was full of generosity, yet it was also fragile, always searching for affection he could never seem to hold on to. Behind every silly face and every tumble was a man desperate to be loved, to be seen not as a clown, but as a person. The world celebrated his laughter, but no one noticed the quiet sadness that hid behind it. And as the fame grew, that silence only deepened. As the laughter grew louder on screen, Curly's private world began to fall apart. Behind the fame, his personal life became a carousel of heartbreak and chaos. He married quickly, loved intensely, and lost everything just as fast. His first marriage lasted only a few months, ending in confusion and disappointment. His second brought a daughter, a brief glimpse of family life that he longed for. But even that couldn't survive the weight of his restless spirit. The more he tried to build a home, the more it slipped through his fingers, unable to find peace and love. Curly began to drown in loneliness. The man who made millions laugh could not fill the silence in his own heart. He turned to the nightlife of Hollywood, chasing distractions in smoky clubs and neon lights. Whiskey became his comfort, and extravagance became his escape. He spent recklessly on food, jewelry, and fleeting pleasures, giving away money as if it meant nothing. For someone who had given the world laughter, he seemed incapable of finding a reason to smile for himself. Those closest to him watched helplessly as he spiraled deeper into exhaustion. The man who once bounced across the stage like a ball of energy now carried the weight of sadness in his eyes. Yet, amid the chaos, there was one constant source of peace: his dogs, stray, lost, or abandoned. They seemed to find him wherever he went. He would take them in, feed them, and travel with them from city to city. They didn't care about fame or money. They loved him without condition, and in return, he gave them the gentleness that life had stolen from him. To many, Curly was the wildest stooge, the clown who could make the world forget its worries. But those who truly knew him saw something else: a man searching for comfort in a world that only wanted him to perform. His laughter belonged to the public, but his heart was a quiet place shared only with his dogs. As Curly's private life crumbled, his body began to follow. Years of relentless touring, sleepless nights, and constant performance took a brutal toll. He gained weight, his blood pressure soared, and exhaustion became his constant companion. Yet Hollywood had no room for weakness. The studios saw not a man in pain, but a product still capable of profit. As long as Curly could stand and make an audience laugh, they demanded more shows, more energy, more Curly. Moe, his older brother and the firm leader of the Three Stooges, could see what was happening. He tried to shield Curly, begged the producers to give him rest, but money spoke louder than compassion. Every time Curly stumbled, Moe picked him up and pushed him back on stage, torn between brotherly love and the crushing weight of responsibility. Behind the laughter and chaos, Curly was breaking down. His timing faltered, his eyes dimmed, and the wild spark that once lit up the screen began to fade. Still, Curly refused to quit. Performing was all he knew. Even as his hands trembled and his breath grew short, he forced himself to keep going. He smiled through the pain, spinning and falling, hiding the agony behind the same silly noises that made the world adore him. but his body could no longer keep up with the image of the indestructible clown. The applause grew louder, but his heart grew weaker. Then, in 1946, the inevitable happened. While filming Half-Wit's Holiday, Curly collapsed on set. It was a massive stroke, one that ended not only his career, but the very life he had built through laughter. The cameras stopped. The crew froze. For a moment, Hollywood's most unstoppable force had fallen silent. The man who had carried a generation's laughter could no longer lift himself. Behind the closed studio doors, the era of Curly Howard ended in heartbreaking silence. After the stroke, the laughter stopped. Curly Howard, once the wild heartbeat of the Three Stooges, was never the same again. The man who once filled every room with light now struggled to speak, to walk, even to remember. The doctors told him he needed rest, but Hollywood quickly moved on. The world that had once cheered his every move now continued without him, leaving Curly to fade quietly in the background. Still, he tried. In 1947, he made a brief cameo in Hold That Lion, standing beside his brothers for a few fleeting seconds. Fans cheered, but those who looked closely saw the truth. His body was frail, his smile trembling, his spark dimmed beyond repair. It was not the same Curly who once bounced with unstoppable joy. It was a shadow of the man he used to be. Soon after, more strokes followed, each one stealing another piece of him. The great clown who made the world laugh could no longer laugh himself. But amid the tragedy, something beautiful remained. Valerie Newman, a gentle and loyal woman, entered his life when everyone else had already turned away. She became his quiet anchor, caring for him with patience and love that Hollywood had never offered. Together they welcomed a daughter, Janie, a small miracle that brought warmth back into his fading world. Valerie stayed by his side through the hardest years, holding his hand when words no longer came, reminding him that he was more than the laughter he had given away. By 1952, his body could no longer fight. Curly Howard died at 48, leaving behind not just a legacy of comedy, but a story of human fragility and grace. For the audience, he was a legend. For those who loved him, he was a wounded soul who finally found peace in the arms of the only people who truly saw him. The curtain fell, not with applause, but with a whisper of love that outlasted fame. For decades, fans could only guess what truly happened to Curly Howard. How could a man so full of life burn out so quickly? Why did his decline feel so sudden, so final, so wrong? For years, the mystery remained buried under Hollywood's silence, protected by the glittering facade of the entertainment world. But as time passed, letters, medical files, and studio memos began to surface, and what they revealed changed everything. The truth was darker than anyone had imagined. Curly wasn't simply overworked or unlucky. He had been suffering from what doctors today would identify as bipolar disorder, a condition completely misunderstood in his time. His unpredictable moods, bursts of energy, and sudden collapses were not signs of eccentric genius, but of a man fighting a storm inside his own mind. Yet back then, mental illness was taboo, something to be hidden, mocked, or ignored. The studios labeled him difficult, unstable, even lazy, never realizing he was crying for help. Recently unearthed correspondence between studio executives shows a chilling disregard for his health. Memos described Curly as replaceable, a financial asset, and too valuable to rest. One executive even wrote, "As long as he can move, he can make money." That single sentence captures the cruel truth of old Hollywood, a system built not on compassion, but on profit. The machine didn't stop for broken men. It just found new ones. Mo Howard, his brother, fought quietly behind the scenes. He begged for Curly to be allowed time off, to see real doctors, to recover. But in an era obsessed with productivity, his pleas fell on deaf ears. The studio feared that revealing Curly's illness would damage the Three Stooges brand. So they did what the industry always did best. They covered it up. They kept filming, kept selling laughter, even as one of their brightest stars was falling apart in front of them. For years, Curly's suffering was written off as antics, his breakdowns dismissed as mood swings. But now, with the evidence uncovered, a tragic picture emerges. Curly wasn't the joke. He was the cost, a casualty of an industry that didn't know how or didn't care to protect its own. His story exposes a culture that demanded endless laughter from men who were silently breaking inside. Hollywood had built a legend, but it also built a lie. The myth of Curly Howard, the indestructible clown, was easier to sell than the truth that he was a human being in pain, struggling in an era that treated mental health as weakness. He didn't die from comedy. He died from neglect. Today, those long-hidden files finally give voice to the man behind the madness. They remind us that the real tragedy of Curly Howard isn't just how he died, but how he was forgotten while he was still alive. He wasn't just a victim of illness. He was a victim of silence, a silence that lasted far too long. He made the world laugh, but no one heard his silent cries. Curly Howard's story isn't just the tale of a comedian's rise and fall. It is a mirror reflecting the fragile balance between joy and despair, between the spotlight and the shadows behind it. To millions, he was the unstoppable fool, the man who could take a single trip and turn it into gold. Yet inside, he was breaking, piece by piece, until nothing was left but the echo of his own laughter. Curly's laughter masked pain, revealing a deeper struggle for understanding. Hollywood celebrated Curly Howard's persona, but neglected his humanity. He sacrificed his well-being to bring joy, revealing the struggle behind the laughter. His legacy challenges us to recognize the artist's vulnerabilities, reminding us that behind every smile lies a profound battle for recognition and love, making his story hauntingly beautiful.